Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Comfy Org stream. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully very, very well. I'm joined today by one of our in-house creatives and VFX professional, Mr. Doug Hogan of the Groove Jones Studio. I'll let you introduce yourself in a minute, Doug, but
Yeah.
thank you for coming and joining us. And yeah, hey, say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so let's tell us a bit about yourself, Doug. How'd you get into Comfy?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I kind of fell into Comfy, right? Like we all kind of end up doing. It's VFX artist for 20 years now. Feature film, mainly animation, but some theme park rides, some commercial stuff, whole bunch of different things. And that evolved into going from feature films to the commercial industry, where I worked at Samsung for a few years running their CG department. And while we were there, that was right when AI started, all the automatic 1111 started coming on, and I became their creative technologist, which was a new role at the time. But it basically just meant I got to play with all of the really cutting edge things to do creative, use cases. So that was a lot of
Most fun
turn.
job.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah. And that evolved into what I do now over at Groove Jones, creative technologist there. And we work in the experiential space. So we do a lot of applied visual effects, things you can actually see in the real world. So that's like last year we did a fun event for the Final Four with this computer vision powered like basketball game inside this LED cube that you could made you look like you're on the court. So it's a really fun place to work on, and we get to experiment with all these AI tools that's coming online. So of course, Comfy is that's our favorite. We've used that for quite a while. So I'm super excited to come over here and contribute to the Comfy ecosystem.
Right on. So what was your first experience using AI? Was it automatic or was it even before then?
It was. I think it was basically. ChatGPT probably. That's usually like the entry point. When your mom starts asking you about ChatGPT, we've reached saturation point.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's probably that, and then you start digging. It's a never ending rabbit hole that you can go down, and the further you go down, the more you realize how much potential there is, especially for creative uses. So it's really exciting to see, especially Comfy evolve. Right, it's open source, so it's rapidly developed, and it's turning into a full production tool, and that's what's getting us really excited, because now, in the visual effects space, we've usually operate on razor thin margins. A lot of people don't realize that. They think the movie industry is just huge budgets. That's all you hear. But it all rolls, it's the old saying, like, it all rolls downhill. By the time it gets to visual effects, like, we are working extremely long hours. The budget is dwindling, and the what's left over for a healthy VFX department is actually very, very little. So now we get to employ these new AI processes that we can combine all of the tried and true visual effects that we've all those traditional techniques we've evolved basically since 1993 with Jurassic Park, and now we get to infuse it with all the power of AI, and you can do some amazing things with it now.
So then you're of the school where this is more of an acceleration pedal than a limiting tool for traditional artists, because like there is obviously a giant schism of people who won't even look at these tools, and then people that see the value of sort of accelerating certain parts of their workflow. Like today, I mean, we're basically replacing the entire pipeline with a one-shot thing. But I know that's not always the intention with AI. And do you find it's hard to like get the nuance across to people? Because like sometimes it is about replacing the entire scene, and sometimes it's about just doing UV unwrapping on a model or something that would normally take you way too long, or you don't even know how to do.
Yeah. I by the way, I had to do those assignments in school. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. We had to do whole classes on just rotoscoping, UV unwrapping, all of the things that like I hate doing so much. I will let the robot sweep my floor and do my roto for me and unwrap my UVs. But really, the trick is, I definitely see it as an accelerant because there's a lot of parts of the visual effects pipeline that has been very manual because there's been no better way. We've had machine learning for a while, and a lot of people don't realize that machine learning is basically AI. It's just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And so we've already been experimenting for a while with different segmentation tools to do rotoscoping. We've just reached this maturity level now where really AI is starting to jump into production, and it definitely is not to replace artists at all. That's the quickest way to get, and I hate the term, but AI slop. If you take humans out of it and you just start pulling that slot machine handle, that's how you get AI slop. But when you put a visual effects artist who's already highly trained, for they have an eye, as we say, for for cinematic quality. Well, now you've given him like basically a bazooka, like just a super powered tool that they can do some really amazing things with in just a much shorter time scale. And that's going to what I'm seeing is like it's just evolving the visual effects industry. I think it's changing. We're not going to have, I think, in the future, so many large visual effects studios. I think what we're going to see, though, is we're going to have more kind of smaller studios, kind of micro artist-owned visual effects studios that are going to use AI tools with traditional VFX processes to do some amazing movies. Because I love movies. I don't want to see those go away.
Yeah, sort of like the transference from the old school music industry where the label pays for you to go to like one of 14 studios in the United States and record your album, and then there's like a set path where now everyone can kind of make records in their bedroom. So obviously things change, the landscape completely changes, but the people who were kind of always going to make it will find a way to sort of push through and build out their own path in this thing. And I think it's always more interesting when the playing field is leveled than when gatekeeping has gone on for so long. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what people make and all these new voices that are being activated like every day.
Yeah, I am too. And that's honestly like one of the things I'm most excited about Comfy is that it's open source. And so there's room for those voices to contribute to Comfy and shape it. Because it really is like, we're in a world right now with these giant AI companies, and it feels like we're kind of, we have to play with their toys. But with the open source, aspect, we can make our own toys. We can choose how we want to use this tool and really shape it for different creative use cases. And like you said, there's so many new voices jumping into this space that that gets me really excited because the barrier to entry is much, much lower than it was even just a few years ago. And I can't wait to see what people create over the next 5, 10, 20 years even. It's going to be kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, and the other nice thing about Comfy is even the closed source tools, like you can still mix and match elements. So if you don't want to use the closed source tools, you can always swap in an open source version and build your own pipelines out and make it all mix and match. And then that's actually very powerful when you're doing iteration and you're learning how all the tools work.
Yeah.
If you use local models and mess around until you get an idea of what you want, and then start pointing that stuff at the more expensive like premium models, then you're going to get really good results like at the end, as opposed to spending so much time and money kind of fumbling around in the dark.
And that, kids, is what we call a segue, because it is a great way to set up what we've been experimenting with the Seedance model. This is we're experimenting with this. You could substitute inside this exact same workflow, like you said, an open source model like LTX or something like that. But the process, the thinking is all the same. So it's a really fun sandbox to play in. I'm excited to show off the workflow in a second. Yeah,
let's do it. Let's just jump right in.
Oh, cool. Okay, all right, let's jump right in. So if people aren't aware too, we've just recently launched the Comfy Hub, which is going to be the new place for a lot of these different workflows to kind of be hosted, especially for VFX focused workflows. This one is one we call playblast to render. So you can go to Comfy Hub and find me. I'm under the creators tab. And what's cool is we can click this and we can go ahead and just try it on cloud. And it says it right here. You can get some free credits, and please get some free credits because Seedance is so expensive. It's crazy. It's like $2 a generation. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I would even say maybe don't use your free credits on this particular workflow because you may run out on like just running it. Like this is a very, we should just preface this. This is a very credit heavy workflow because Seedance is a state of the art model. Yeah. Again, you can swap it out for another model if you want to do some more iteration, but today we're just showing off the best of the best. So
yeah, exactly. And you can kind of see I have this muted right here, but there's a quick little overview video as well. So I'm going to go through this workflow quickly, but you can jump on here and review how to use it as well. But I have it spun up right here, and I already showed off the result. Oops. We'll zoom up. And I'm using Seedance in a couple different ways. One of them is to generate the faux playblast itself, faux meaning fake. But this is a good representation of what you would see coming out of like a Maya or a Blender. Very, very basic shapes. This is what we would see in the animation department coming through. No textures applied. We've done very basic point lighting here for just directional. But it's a really good starting point. And this gives us that very needed thing in production, which is how to actually direct the AI model to produce what we want, and also make it iterable. Because like I don't know about you, Purz, but like I pull my hair out if I have to go back to the prompt, and every model is different. You have to learn how to talk to each one in its own specific way. If you get a client note and says like, I don't want that car to drift, 45 degree angles. I want 10-degree angle. How are you going to prompt that and keep everything else the same? Well, it's impossible, but you can use traditional CG tools like My Animation or Blender to go in and make that adjustment, get it approved, and then you can bring it into this workflow and then have some fun. So we've just generated this, so you can upload your own from Maya or Blender. And then we upload it over here to the load playblast section, and it passes them through, I think arguably one of my favorite nodes, top 5 in Comfy, which is the get and set nodes. Those are amazing to keep your comp extreme, or I call it comp. I'm a compositor by nature, so I'll call this a comp, but your workflow really clean, spaghetti free, and you can just set these variables. So we're pumping this playblast into this base images variable that we then get to bring down here, and we get to generate our individual assets. So this is what's really fun about Seedance, is it can take a whole bunch of different reference. We can load in a reference for a stylized synthwave race car for this example, and then it passes it through another Nano Banana to basically make it into a grid right here, so we can give Seedance a good idea of what this asset looks like at multiple angles. So this is what we would call a turnaround, but normally that's a video file, but we don't need to give it that much. Guess you could, but we just need 4 images, even more if you want to get even more detail, maybe some close-ups, things like that. But we got our car right here. We've got this police car thing it made. Feels a little RoboCopy. I like it. RoboCop meets Tron. And then I went through and then generated a whole bunch of extra cars, right, outside. So all the ones that are populating the street. And then we're giving it the location. So we're thinking like a set. We're thinking like a CG film. We're populating our assets. And I just had it make a little style sheet of different locations inside this synthwave Miami, 1980s area with some Tron mixed in. And it gave me a whole bunch of information here for now the model to chew on. So we can pass that down, and we can even generate some style frames. So I have a choose frame knob right here. This is basically just an integer knob from ComfyUI Logic. And you choose which frame you want. You can get put in a prompt right there. Again, Nano Banana 2, my favorite current model for generating images. And then it'll give you some style frames. So it'll just take that frame and stylize it. So that's an approach you can give it. I particularly actually kind of like to not guide the model so hard. I like to give it the base assets and then give it some room to kind of be creative and interpret things a little bit, especially for this. But you can really lock it in with these style frames.
Yeah.
Then we go down here to this. We got to build our prompt, and this is a favorite trick of mine where I'm right here. We're using Gemini for our LLM, but we can go into the system prompts under the advanced inputs, and we can actually really instruct. We can have all of these rules of how to best generate a prompt for the model. So for this, it's Seedance. And this is as basic as going to Claude or ChatGPT or any LLM that you like, and basically give it all of the information about Seedance. They publish a bunch of different stuff about proper prompts, how to talk to the model. It's very important to talk to these models the way they want to be talked to. And Seedance is very descriptive. It's its own beast. So I just basically scraped a whole bunch of different websites and just literally just grabbed the URLs and were like, oh, I like that. I like that. And just gave it and said, hey, make system instructions for creating prompts. And now what it can do is basically I give it a very basic prompt, which is I have a shot that I want to match the motion of. This is called video one. I want it to have the vehicles. Oh, I don't know how to spell. That's cool. From image 1, 2, and 3. And the environment should look like image 4. And then it's going to generate my prompt for me. And then you can literally just bring it on down here. And it generates a very basic prompt for you. It just says, use the motion of video 1 with the vehicles, blah, blah, blah. And basically tells you everything. It tells the model everything you want it to know about the images and the references that you're giving it. And then it goes in and adds some flavor, right? Tire smoke, road debris, headlight coming from cars, anamorphic lens flares, and then these action cues. So as the red car spins out, sparks fly out of its rear tires. And then it always just kind of throws in that cinematic 4K for that's the extra pepper at the end. You set your duration. So we're going to be what do we say at the very top? So I kind of treat this as like a control section. We have the duration of 10. So we're going to go ahead and just use that. And then when we run it, it looks like it didn't give me generate, give me 7 seconds, but it goes ahead and takes that original play blast, throws my car where I want it, shoots out those sparks as it spins out. And now this is a really, very directable final shot. Maybe I want to change the environment some more. Well, you go in and now you just update one asset. Same prompt as before. Now we're just dealing with assets. And you can really make these really cool shots extremely quickly. This took maybe 3-4 minutes in generation time. And like we said, a ton of credits to do, but it looks really great. The detail is pretty incredible. It follows my direction really closely. And it, the physics of this model too are extremely impressive. But you don't have to use Seedance. You can use this same process, like you said before, like LTX or any model of your choice. But this kind of workflow is a cool way to think about production, and this is a fun way to just kind of jump in and play around and make some cool shots.
Yeah, and another thing to consider about the cost is a lot of these models, like if you're just a hobbyist at home, you're probably not going to want to be running stuff through Seedance all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're on a job, like the cost of one of these runs compared to like the actual labor of doing a shot like this is astronomically cheaper. So it all scales, it all levels, it all depends on your application, and that's why you can just whack this into LTX 2.3 at home and just and generate all day long. Learn how to use it, and then move on to something else. So it's crazy how expandable and how far you could push this. Like if you had because you could even use different vehicles and different things. They would just follow that same sort of structure, right?
Oh yeah, you can change it out. It doesn't have to, like, if your CG playblast, is close to what you're doing, you'll get better results. But as you can see here, the geometry for, let's go ahead and where's the sync? I can't find the sync. Where we have the geometry of the car, of this police car, are similar, but it's different at the same time. So you can swap things around. It's a different model of sports car as we saw in the base image. So it doesn't have to be super. It's not like a canny edge detection where it really locks in. This is more about capturing the motion and the animation, and you can apply it in a variety of different ways, different vehicles. Sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, people are asking if you can use LTX 2.3 interchangeably like this. It doesn't actually take references quite the same way that Seedance does, but
Yeah,
it's not to say there aren't a million other ways to use LTX 2.3. If you look at the IC LoRa landscape, like it's crazy all the different ways you can control it. So
oh yeah,
don't get hung up on just the specifics of what we're doing here versus what you can do. Like it's all really about the model you're using and what it can do control wise and how you
yeah,
can push it. So yeah, like in this case, Seedance is able to take in reference images and then sort of make a final render that includes them all.
yeah,
You can sort of do that with LTX 2.3, but it's a little more rudimentary, but it's also faster and does a bunch of other stuff too. So
yeah.
yeah, the landscape is vast
And ever changing too. Like
yeah.
wait 3 months, and this is going to look like old hat for LTX or anything else. Like it's such a rapidly evolving space, like you were saying, and really the biggest change in the technique is really just how you talk to the model for what inputs you give it. So it would be just going through and making your own system instructions to give you that base prompt to tell the model what you want it to do. Once you figure that out, that's the biggest crux with all this: how to talk to the model and give it the information it needs in order to achieve a repeatable and also on point creative vision that you're having. So it's a really fun workflow to play with. Don't need to be Seedance. It can be show. I think people should show us the LTX version of this, or the Kling version. Show us all the versions.
Yeah, yeah. Make your own and add it to the Comfy Hub. This is super cool. I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed.
Yeah, and this was not a huge lift either. Like this was maybe 20 minutes setting up this workflow from start to finish. It's kind of crazy how quickly you can do, because if you gave me working in animation 20 minutes and said make this, I would just look at you like you had no idea what you were doing. Like, what are you talking about? How are you going to make that in 20 minutes? Well, with Comfy especially, you can make these tools really kind of bend to your will and make some like really impressive things. Is this final? Is this perfect? Absolutely not. But it's a really good starting point to say, if you're building a concept piece, right, for a trailer, you're speccing it out, and now you have a really amazing animatic, as we called it, of what you want the final thing to do. Or you can upscale this, you can use it for final. It's kind of whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's super cool. I wonder now. So I know the blockout is cars in a city, but like
Yeah.
how reactive is the reference stuff? If like you were to change it to boats or something, would they actually change to boats that look like cars? Do you think, or would it try to like stick really hard to the blockout?
Oh no, it'll it'll do some crazy things. I gave it
Oh
one
yeah.
prompt. I gave it one prompt before. It takes a while to generate, so I won't do it on the fly. But I had it where I wanted to have this car turn into a shark, just halfway through. Kind of like, I want to see how maybe it's the Transformers movie in my dream or something like that. But I didn't even give it a reference of the shark. I injected that prompt idea into the Seedance prompt, and it did its own thing, and it made it this like holographic synth wave looking shark, and then the the concrete turned into waves, and it was very AI sloppy, but it was funny for one, and it was kind of amazing how versatile these models are when you start changing the ingredients, and also the intent, the instructions you give it. It really makes some creative choices, and I would laugh more often when I saw Seedance make those mistakes if I didn't cry so much when I saw how many credits that it just spent on it. But they're all very cool. They're buried on my hard drive somewhere that maybe I'll share later.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just working with AI in a VFX studio, what has been the biggest hurdle? Is it trying to like win people over with the idea that you're using AI, or is that still as bad as it was? Like, we're trying to get an idea of like what the landscape is like these days. Like when you pitch a client, are they aware of AI, or is it still so new that it's like
Yeah.
taboo and weird?
Yeah, super good question. It kind of depends. So, like, good example is for a little known fact about me. Well, if you might know this if I'm over at like ActionVFX and fxphd, so I talk about this a lot. But I'm actually super colorblind. I'm red Greek, and I made a career as a compositor.
Nice.
And most of the time I was very secretive about it. I didn't want my wife knew because I worked with my wife, but I didn't even tell my friends because there was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to lose my job.
Oh man.
Turns out there's actually a lot of colorblind compositors, and when you come open to it, you see that a lot of people have the same experience, and it's very similar with AI. A lot of people I know for a fact at very major VFX studios, they are spending a third of their time, maybe more, experimenting specifically in Comfy to solve some of these VFX pain points and really, put it through its metal and see what it can do. And right now they're using it for those, sweep the floor tasks, roto, clean plating. We've seen a really cool advance with WAN 2.2 animate with face replacements. Shockingly good. Just give it one image and it locks in, preserve the performance. It's really, really good. So you see people jumping in and starting to see how far they can push it. And they're starting to be a little bit more open to it because I think, VFX artists especially, we're always experimenting. This is one of the things I love about this profession in general is that you are never done learning. And if you do, that's more of a red flag. Like, oh, you know everything. Like,
right.
Those are
not willing to learn.
Yeah,
not willing to look at the landscape, and
it's very strange and it goes counterintuitive, kind of how our brains are wired. And so we're constantly experimenting with these. And VFX studios, time is money. We are saving. There's potential to save a lot of time with these new workflows. So there's incentive right there, and it's also just kind of fun to play with these when you really start learning how they work under the hood, how they think. I know it's kind of a strange thing to even say how the models think, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's a really fun creative flow that you can jump in that's similar to traditional VFX pipelines, but it's its own thing. It's like VFX 2.0. So we're, the industry is evolving, so the sentiment is evolving as well. The things that we're still struggling with is mainly on the quality of the outputs. So Purz and I were talking about this in the pre-roll to this. These images look great when they're coming out. They look super cool. All I got to do is upscale it, right? Like, and then it goes on Netflix or anything like that. Client will love this. Well, problem is when you inject an AI asset into a full floating range EXR plate, for example, that we would deliver to somebody like Netflix with very strict color standards. Well, the AI then falls on its face. It's the range isn't there, and that's because of how these models are trained. They're all trained on data that's square, 512 by 512, maybe 1024, 0 to 1 pixel ratios, and in the VFX industry, we're working on floating values. So that means -2 all the way to +100. And that gives you that really high fidelity image. And so that is currently a blind spot, but again, give it like 3 months. There's actively a lot of exciting work being done specifically in the output to get us past that 8-bit range, get us into these bigger color curves. So there's, VFX artists love to solve problems, and this is a really fun one to play with, and it's very hard. So that's kind of where it is right now. But a year ago, people would not say that they were playing with AI. Now it's actually more strange if they say that they're not. It's more just like, wow, really?
That's interesting. Yeah, because most of my memories are from the beginning of this when everyone hated it. So it's cool to see the shift. It's very cool to see the shift start to happen.
Yeah.
We had a couple questions while we were running here. Lee
Cool.
Persnowski was wondering, are you using a lower resolution Nano Banana for a reason? Normally they do 2K. I was going to answer this, but I'll just let you answer it.
Yeah, I'm cheap. I don't want to. I don't want to spend on a 2K asset. Ugh.
And it's a reference image, right?
It's just a reference image. It's not going to go into the final output. My final output is going to be 2K, and I mean, honestly, sometimes I don't even output at 2K. I'll output at 1K because when you run it through some of these new upscaling models, what's actually kind of cool is that traditionally in the VFX upscaling space, like I worked on, if anybody's been to Universal Studios, the Simpson ride that's there, I was the guy who installed that, and in all 3 parks around the world, I was the guy up in the rafters. I'll tell you stories later.
Oh man,
yeah, it's really neat. People signed the rafters, all sorts of fun stories. But the way we did that is they had a big upgrade for the projectors, and they went from the bulb projectors to a laser projector. And that meant that now our 2K images looked really soft, really dull. So there was this new node that came out in Nuke called the TVI scale node. And what it did is when you upscale an image, it basically splits the pixels apart. And now you have this black missing data in between those pixels. And it looks at the surrounding pixels and it figures out, it averages and figures, that middle pixel out. So that's how traditional upscaling was done before AI. Now these diffusion models come out and they basically kind of Star Trek beam up, like, they add all the noise to it and then redistill it down into this higher res image. And so that can now actually clean up some artifacting. It's also, that's where you see like Topaz with their creative mode. It can add some creative detail. So it's this whole other second process that is an opportunity to kind of sculpt the final image a little bit more. So a lot of the times I'll save my money. I'll do a 1K and then I'll run it through an upscaler to give that little final polish and then get the final image.
That's cool. Yeah, it's the other interesting thing that's happening now is the IC LoRa's video outpainting, refocus, the cleanup one, decolor grading. Like we're getting all these like little tools that they're not ready to be like in 4K productions right now, but like the fact that this is even possible on local hardware right now, and what we're gonna have in 2 months, 3 months, I'm just super stoked.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's really a fun space to explore in right now. And again, the open source aspect of Comfy is why my bets are on Comfy for the backbone of what the future is going to look like, because the rate is exponential. Like every week, it's a brand new model that's coming out that's mind blowing. And most software companies can't keep up with that. When we would work on feature films, a lot of people don't realize that we're not using the latest and greatest software. Usually we're about 2 to 3 versions behind, because that's
you get a fixed pipeline that works and it's reproducible.
Don't want to mess with it. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that. I want it locked in. I'm going to be in this for a year and I want to make sure it's repeatable. So a lot of software companies are designed that way, to issue out these yearly updates. And then you can evaluate if you want to upgrade. And usually it's a pain to upgrade because you built the whole pipe around one. But with Comfy, it's so rapidly expanding and constantly developing. The open source aspect gives us this really sharp edge that we can solve these new challenges much faster than anything I've seen before. It's a really exciting time to be in the visual effects space, to be quite honest.
That's cool. That's encouraging. Open Room asked, if you drove through the same city many times, what in the shot would stay consistent based on your references? Like I noticed your reference of the location was like 16 locations. So would you get a more consistent location by using a single location with that reference every time, and then you could just iterate on that one location? And then with those 16, maybe you would get like a pink one or a purple one, depending on the sort of vibe? I'm just guessing because I haven't done much testing with this particular workflow.
You're right on, and that's also why in the pipeline, the workflow I have there, we have those abilities to make those style frames. Choose a frame and make those locked frames, right?
Got it.
If you want to really lock the creativity in, oh, where'd he go? There he is.
Oh, that was weird.
That was super weird. We're blowing people's minds, man. This is what's happening.
Beep boop.
Beep boop. It will lock you in to a much more specific vision if you give it locked frames. But for this one, and that literally is no different than just throwing one more reference in there and adding your prompt and saying, make the first frame look like this frame, and give it that little syntax for what it needs to look at. I like to let the model, when I'm experimenting like this, just have more creative freedom. It's fun to see what it comes up with. There was one where it just started having like very Blade Runner 20 like little hologram, walking around and stuff. And
oh yeah,
it's really, really cool. So you can lock it in. It's just kind of like, what do you need it to do?
Right on.
Yeah.
Try New Media says, I was expecting more depth, canny, control net-like workflows or segmentation workflows. It's really impressive. It's all working in such a minimal way. Yeah, with just the blockout and some references as opposed to having to pre-process 8 different kinds of footage. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a preview of what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of years. All of the different control processes that we've used before, they're going to look archaic as we're going because these models are just getting so thoughtful. I guess you can only guess what's going on under the hood because you can't really audit it that much, but their reasoning capabilities are getting much more impressive. So you can talk to it more like I'll say a mid-level artist, maybe not a senior artist yet, but a mid-level artist.
I've been noticing
we're getting there.
It's becoming less of a junior intern that you have to constantly like reorient, and it's actually becoming more of a colleague now.
It really is, yeah.
And yeah, that's only getting better and better. Actually, we haven't even talked about like tooling and like Claude Code and being able to now, I have an idea for a post-processing technique on a video I want to make. I can actually make that a repeatable post-processing pipeline with like Python and Claude Code and maybe a shader or two.
Yeah.
That's completely reproducible and my own, and like and then I can open source it. I can not open source it. We can use it for a project, keep it secret, keep it not secret. What's been your experience with like being able to build your own tools now faster than before?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's something I've been having a ton of fun with because there's a lot of processes you kind of take for granted in visual effects of just like, one of them was like a switch node. As simple as that is, being able to load a whole bunch of inputs and just change one knob value to then direct the pipe the way you want it to. That didn't exist in any package that I saw. So I went to Claude Code. I said, hey, asked it a question. I said, hey, do you know ComfyUI? And it kind of like gave me a little bit of a sarcastic, like, I know ComfyUI. I was like, okay. Can you make me a node that does this? And explain the thought process behind it. And, it didn't one-shot it, maybe two-shotted, three-shotted, but it got me, my init py that I could throw into my local install. And then I had a functional tool that I could use. I do that stuff all the time. But a lot of the fun comes into when you use it as, I started giving my local AI just the JSON files and then access to Comfy and said like, all right, you now have a tool for rendering images. Here's a tool for rendering videos. Here's a tool for X, Y, or Z. And now while I'm working, I can just like, hey, make me a video, surprise me in the morning with a historical picture of what happened today. And it does it, it schedules it, it creates it, and it structures it injects the right prompt in the right spot. So it starts using it like a tool, just like I would. And it's both scary at times because of how amazingly powerful it is, but also it's fun. And I think I think people don't have enough fun with the AI tools. I think it's been too much either people being scared to approach it because it feels too complicated, or pick whatever reasoning you want. But I think if you jump into it, you start seeing that, wow, we're getting to a point where I can have a lot of fun. I can put a lot of my creativity into this. And people are making just some amazing things that are kind of mind blowing to me.
Yeah. No, it's so cool. I just saw another question here. Or Technopat says, at my company, we have a team just testing new tech and playing with it, then filtering what's usable in production. That's the way to
100%.
go, Pat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you always have to wrestle with also, can I use this model in production? Licensing, create a commercial use. There's a lot of things to think about, and there's a lot of
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much work I do on a day-to-day basis with lawyers. The proving provenance of how this image is generated is becoming a very big thing. So we develop systems at Groove Jones to do exactly that. We only, if we're using AI models, we need to make sure that is we can't audit what's actually in the training data. We can only take the supplier's word for it at the end of the day, just because of how these models are trained. But we can only use commercially safe models on full productions. There's a lot that goes into it, but we always like to try to keep an eye on where this is going. And very much like how the AI revolution started, it got very messy. There was a lot of suspect things going on that were not cool, but there's an ethical path forward now, and there's a lot of models coming on like LTX that are commercially safe based on their training data. So you can use those on full productions now, and the lawyers are totally fine with it. And so it just takes a lot of work to get them there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's it's like, it seems like a new problem. I mean, it was not a new problem, but it kind of is. Yeah.
I did not think in 1993 when I saw Jurassic Park that was going to be my life as a visual effects artist one day, is having to deal with lawyers so much. But it is what it is. It's the cost of playing in the sandbox.
Frau Polly Hay would like to know what your favorite upscale model is.
Yeah, it changes all the time. This week it's Topaz.
Yeah.
Simply because I made friends with one of the engineers on LinkedIn, and he gave me a very cool syntax code to generate HDR values that they're experimenting with. So they gave me a peek under the hood, which makes me excited about it. So Topaz currently, and they're actually in Dallas as well, where I was for a long time. So go Texas. And so right now that's it. But I was also all these new models are coming on all the time, and they're extremely impressive. I don't know, Purz, do you have one that you're playing with all the time?
I mean, Topaz is my go-to whenever especially for footage, for images. I basically just go on Banadoko and see where the crowd's moving, because I don't have time to pay attention to what the best upscaler is, and B, there are people that dedicate their entire lives to understanding this part of diffusion, and it's just so much easier to stand on their shoulders and just let them do the research, because I don't have the patience to try 50,000 settings on an upscaler, because to me the end result of an upscaler is so subjective, and it also completely depends on your input. Like, am I doing anime? Am I doing a realistic shot? Is it supposed to look like a grungy 70s cinematic shot? If so, I probably don't want to use any upscaler on it, because it's going to make it look like weird. There's like, if the footage has already got processing on it, you maybe want to deprocess it, upscale it, reprocess it.
That's a really good point.
It's just, that's one of those, like, what's the best distribution of Linux? Like, well, it depends on what you're doing.
That's very true. Oh, and I'll throw one more out there. This is a surprise dark horse that I didn't expect. The Magnific video upscaler totally surprised me. Was not impressed with the image upscaler for a longest time, for a lot of the reasons you were just saying. Their video upscaler that came out a couple months ago. Wow, really, really cool. I think people should play with it.
Yeah, my friends really like it. I haven't had a chance to try it, but from what I've heard, it works really well.
Yeah.
Open Room would like to know, do you think Comfy will stay a thing for local models or will it shift to cloud-based? We are going nowhere locally. We are the open source solution. You don't have to worry about that. We want to support all the newest models. We want to support the teams of people that are making custom nodes and pushing this entire ecosystem forward.
Yeah.
Do not worry about it. Comfy is open source for life.
Yep, that's right.
LTC, LTX, IC upscale diff LoRa, if anyone wants to train it. There's already a de blurring one, and it works really well. I would love to see what it does on some like just decent footage.
Yeah.
I haven't even tried like just straight up upscaling with, something that's not totally messed up.
Yeah. I was really impressed with that.
It's crazy.
It started making me think about too, like the different, I think some of these LoRa's and these different tools are going to be used in really surprising ways going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw, we can use a playblast to then generate a final image, right? I'm wondering if in the next couple of years we're going to see a very big name director like film an entire movie out of focus because you can go through and
who cares?
It gives you some creative ability that we're not even expecting right now. It might be a whole new process.
Yeah, like different source material nets a different result.
Yeah, it's going to be so old school to film it in full focus. It's going to drive DPs crazy.
It's like, oh, you still focus your cameras? Ugh.
Ew. It's very true.
How do you deal with ComfyUI updates breaking things? Every time ComfyUI breaks, I take my computer and heave it into the sea, and then I just go buy a new one.
Because there's probably a new, better GPU out there. Yeah.
Usually just delete everything, start over. Like if you've screwed up your dependency situation so badly that like you need to spend an afternoon fixing it, it's much faster to just like build up a new version of Comfy and copy the stuff over. Like life's too short to spend your whole life trying to fix dependency issues. If things break, they break. If you can fix it, that's great. If you and Claude can't fix it in like 20 minutes, give up. Just give up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's usually custom nodes that are going to be breaking things. Something might not be, like you said, a dependency that's not loading.
It'll be one dependency overwrote another one or needs a version, the other one doesn't. And we're, a lot of us have become soft Python DevOps engineers in our spare time, but that's not the goal. Well, you don't have to know that stuff to be able to use Comfy.
No, you do not. And in a professional setting too, you actually don't have to worry about Comfy breaking because we lock the environment. Similar to how we would lock a software version for the period. We don't allow any updates coming through. That's anything of the base code. It works. We're going to use it just like that. So we kind of insulate ourselves from the pain. But like Purz was saying, I've killed and rebuilt Comfy. Can't even remember how many times it's been a lot.
No, it's good practice, even as a hobbyist, even as someone who's exploring, to have a stable and an experimental build of whatever you're working on. If you have a stable environment that you can always create in, always create the things that you care about in, that's great. And then you have this other, environment where you're just adding stuff willy-nilly and seeing what happens. That'll also give you the freedom to just try random stuff all the time, which is really great. And then your safe environment can stay that way. That's how 3D artists generally work. Especially anyone who's ever worked on a team works like this. It's a fantastic habit to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. And my background is blurred, but my wife has the messy side of the office. I have the clean side. It's very much the exact same way, but in the middle, it's all creativity. So it's just kind of how you like to set it up. And that is very good, comfy hygiene for playing with all these things.
Cosmic Raptor says we've come far from animate diff days. Yeah, we certainly have. Kidding. But Diff's still my beloved. I love.
It's your first.
Diff. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah,
it does stuff nothing else does still, which is crazy. Let's see. Do you think there are any benefits to adding unlit simple textures to the render beyond the clay?
Yeah. There totally is. Play with it because it's similar to how you give it reference images. Like if you gave it a full frame, the more data you give it, the more closely it's going to look like that towards the end, just kind of like how you want to guide it. But there's, sometimes you can have intentional bleed through, sometimes unintentional. I played around with telling Seedance to put a checkerboard texture on the city. But then I was getting crosswalks everywhere. There was just
Oh,
crosswalks up on buildings. It interpreted it in a
interesting.
very interesting way, not the way I expected. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of working with these models. Try something, play with it, see if it breaks, if it doesn't. There is no right way to do this right now. There are just a lot of different experimental ways. And I think people are going to find really new, cool, innovative things that we haven't even thought of before to try. But we're all going to the same goal, which is making something look amazing, out of our imagination, to entertain people. So play around with all this stuff. There is no right answer.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Everyone will tell you how to do something, but
Yeah.
there's also 40 people telling you how to do the same thing. So there's got to be something to that.
Yeah. The smartest people I've ever met in visual effects are the ones not afraid to say, I don't know. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
Or how did you do that?
Yeah,
It's not a scary question. It's
Yeah.
and you know what? 9 times out of 10, that person's going to be delighted to tell you how they did it.
Oh yeah. Especially VFX artists. We love to share information. We are a big open source in general. That's how we're all standing on shoulders of giants, right? Like the Dennis Murins and like the Phil Tippett's. We're all here because of who came before us. So we just got to keep building and keep playing and experimenting.
CJ Raygun says, I've been finding that Seedance struggles to understand camera movement through space if surfaces don't have some kind of texture to it. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. It needs to have something to lock onto. It's similar to if you're working with Nano Banana 2. One of my favorite things to do if I need to place something in a specific area, I'll go and I'll draw like a big red thing, like in the same shape and everything, instead of like trying to describe both the thing and how I want it to incorporate it, and then in that spot, I give it something solid to lock onto and simple to understand, which is like that big red square right there. This is what I want you to focus on. It does that really, really well. So it's again, all of these models have ways that they like to be talked to, how they understand the world and the image that you're giving it. So yeah, Seedance struggles with that a little bit. So give it a little bit of something to get some traction on. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not even going to try. Andre says, hi, I'm new to Comfy. Is it possible to create a workflow to help with concepting? Can I get a rough blockout from Blender and a few references? Like, what's the best model for that? My answer for that, for images, would be like Nano Banana 2, something like that. And then for video, it's got to be like Seedance, Kling, anything with reference to video. But start with images. It'll be much cheaper, and you can iterate a lot more freely. And you might find that you don't actually need your input footage anymore once you have the right starting image. You can just start trying to bring that image to life with video models. This type of workflow is really good when like you're in a situation like Doug here, where this shot has to be this shot. Yeah. And then the style of it is what you get to play with, but the shot has to be the shot. That's what this workflow is best for. But if you're doing a single image and then you don't mind where it goes, it's actually more freeing to just make that first frame and then sort of prompt your way there with an image to video model, because you just get a lot more freedom in where you can go with it. But again, it's what use case.
It totally is. And I think a lot of people have a misconception too with like Seedance coming on, that this is like the one model to rule them all, right? Look how powerful it is. And the future is never going to be that. It hasn't been that way. It won't be that way. You're going to be mixing and matching all sorts of different models that are all good at their own little thing. Seedance is good for this, but LTX is really good for this. Juan is really good for that. All of these productions use multiple different models throughout their length of production. So it's start with the text, start with images, get your feet wet there, and then once you get into hybrid workflows with images plus videos, don't feel like you got to get locked into just one. Experiment with all the toys in the toolbox.
Totally. Open Room says, do you think we will train more LoRa's in the future or just use references? I would have said that we wouldn't be training LoRa's as much as we are now, but because the reference models, the image edit models are getting better and better. You can sort of one shot the concept of a LoRa. And then LTX 2.3 IC LoRa's came out, and I thought, okay, so we've gone past the modality of making image LoRa's. Now we're making video LoRa's at home. So we're into the next renaissance of LoRa's now with video LoRa's. So yeah, are we done with image LoRa's? No. Are we done with image LoRa's for most reference things? Probably. Are we done with video LoRa's? No, we are just getting started. That's my view on that right now.
I 100% agree with you. We did a really cool project at Groove Jones for Crocs and the NFL. We were their first AI production that we got approved by the lawyers. It was a whole big thing. But that was entirely driven by product reference images, because anybody who's seen Crocs, there's all the gibbets, there's all these little things all around there.
Right.
It has to be product accurate, right? And the only way to do that is by training a LoRa, so it can lock in every single aspect. And a fun thing is, if you do this really well, like we did at Groove Jones, Crocs will be so impressed with it that they'll even send you limited edition Ghostbuster Crocs, which are now my favorite Crocs of all time. I hated Crocs.
Those are insane.
They're amazing, and they even have the button's broken now, but it even sounds like a proton pack when you press the button. It's really great. So, so I love LoRa's. They got me Crocs, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Arsos LA says, speaking of dependencies, has anyone found that creating a new virtual environment for any given project with Comfy will eliminate these headaches? Yes. And 100%. In fact, I have a video on how to do that. It's just, that's my preferred method. Excuse me, I'm all stuffed up. That's my preferred method of installing Comfy, is virtual environments, because yeah, it's very like, oh, that environment's cooked. Next environment. But it's more Python DevOps overhead. So, you know, it all depends on how deep you want to go down the Python well.
Yeah, 100%. Agree with that. Yeah. Oh, I see one comment in it that's interesting.
Which one?
Can you see? Let's see if you guess it.
I can't. There's so many. You guys keep talking.
I like the human facial reference question. What's your experience on how to use human faces? Because that's an interesting thing about Seedance, is it doesn't allow you to do it. There's special approval that has to be applied to this, and I think it's actually a really good example of how some of these models are going to be kept safe, you know, to an extent, because there are a lot of ethical guardrails that are around there. You have to apply, and it's smart. It doesn't let you do it. I think that's a good thing. That's my experience so far with it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't have access to it, but also, yeah, in this sort of place right now, it feels like a lot of power to be given to people to be able to basically make deep fakes of anybody.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it all depends on what you do with it, but Pandora's box is open as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right.
If it's not us, someone else is going to offer it, and then, you know, like, eventually the walls will come down and you'll be able to do anything you want with anything. But as we see, every time a new model comes out, it gets nerfed.
Yeah.
And then things sprout up. So I would say, just, you know, for right now we can't do it, but that doesn't mean in a week another model won't come out, or maybe they'll loosen up, or something will happen, and then you will be able to do it, or there'll be a workaround or something. Like, I just patience is the key with that stuff.
Agreed.
And you know, there are people out there who found ways to do it. So you know, go ask them how they did it, because there's probably a place you can go do it. It
has a VFX
block that way.
Yeah, it has a VFX usage. Face replacements are a big thing. We talk about this in my. I have a course over at ActionVFX that goes over a lot of this stuff, and we talk about, like, WAN 2.2 is really good at face replacements, and that has a VFX use case. But you got to approach these things ethically, with great power, great responsibility. You got to be able to use these tools for the right reasons. So it's really up to us what we do with it.
Yeah. Right on. Well, man, this was a great discussion and a great workflow, and I hope people really enjoy it. And also, guys, if you want to make blockouts, you can make blockouts with text to video models. You don't actually have to use Blender, right? And stuff. You can make your own blockouts, and then you can stylize those blockouts. Every every step of this process is essentially synthesizable now.
Mhm.
So, you know, you see us talking about blockouts and references. You can generate those blockouts and references with zero understanding or knowledge of how to use Maya or Blender or how to bring these materials to you. But if you do know how to use Maya, you do know how to use Blender, you do know how to kit bash elements together, because let me tell you, there's a lot of elements out there on the web for free that you can just grab and put in a scene, learn how to build a scene, learn how to do some basic animation. All that stuff is going to make your eye better. It's going to make your
Yeah.
understanding of visual space better. It's going to, like, I can go on for a year about how learning 3D software can make you a better artist in general.
I think so too.
But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So
Yeah, that's
have
such
fun, make what you want.
such a great way to end it too, because like that's something I believe very strongly too. The traditional VFX processes, the CG processes, those are not going away. They really do only make you a stronger artist. They're not a requirement anymore, because you can use these AI tools to synthesize really any part of it, but you will be a better artist. That's just kind of no way around it, and you'll have more control. And if you want to work in production, it is all about iteration, control, refinement. So play with all of this stuff, 3D, AI. Let's mix them all together.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Doug. And we'll
Thanks,
have you
Purz.
on again soon. This has been great. I'd love to pick your brain, maybe with Phil and Julian. We could have a roundtable discussion about this kind of stuff too, because yeah, this is awesome. This is great. Thanks so much. And thanks everybody. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're doing, but it'll be something fun. Thanks,
Something
everybody.
cool. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.